Welcome back to the channel, and if you're new to the channel, thank you so much for tuning in. So in today's video, what I am going to be doing is taking a Nintendo and popping a PC in it. Now, I love Nintendo. Nintendo is my thing. I am big into the Legend of Zelda series. That is just my all-time favorite. I have played everyone from every console, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy, NES, SNES, you name it, I've played it. Have my own limited edition collection ones that I've acquired throughout the year. So I love Nintendo. And growing up, my first system was a Nintendo. And it was great. It was a good time. My parents were big into Nintendo too, and they would spend a lot of time with me. So there's a lot of great memories just playing the old NES on the big, bulky TV, just a lot of good times. But who loves Nintendo more than me is my little brother. So my little brother, his birthday was back in January. This video is now being recorded in April, and my plan was back then to take a PC, put it in the Nintendo, and just give it to him for his birthday. So I'm a little late, sorry bro, but it's the thought that counts. But better late than never. And I figured, why not give him a Nintendo that has emulation built into it from a PC. That way he could have it set up, it looks really cool, matches the theme of his room. And that way he could just leave them up there just for display and just, conveniently play when he wants to play. So that's my thought behind it. Full disclaimer, number one, I don't have a 3D printer. Number two, first time doing this type of stuff. And number three, we're definitely gonna have to go old school, barbaric if you may, to get this thing done. But I truly believe they should come out great. So we have this, the classic, the NES. And this one, yes, it's in a little rough condition. And once we build it, well, we will improve it and maybe get a better shell and case. So I picked this up, like I said, this project's been planned for a while. A year ago, I paid $5 for it, and the reason behind it is, it don't say Nintendo anymore. It says Nendo main. Yeah, it's faded. Little crack over here, obviously a little dirty, and this thing does not work. So the motherboard is fried on it, and I think the mechanism inside, what game do I have in here? Galaga. The mechanism doesn't read, so the guts in it are pretty bad, so we are gonna be gutting it out. So my thought behind this is that I don't wanna put like a ITX gaming PC together because he doesn't play those types of games. He actually has his dedicated gaming PC for that. So I'm thinking just going something smaller, less powerful, not a Raspberry Pi, even though that is a good option, but something that's gonna allow him to watch movies, play other legal backups of the games he has, such as PlayStation and all that type of stuff. So this is what I got. I got a Chewy, whatever it's called, Larkbox X. So this is a mini PC, and mini PCs are great, for office and type stuff, but I've learned that you can take the guts out of these and just pop them into anything and just, create your own type of look. And that's the plan for this. At least what I'm thinking. We'll find out if it works. Or, spoiler alert, you'll look at the thumbnail, depending on what my thumbnail is, and you'll be like, oh yeah, it does work. So hang on for the ride. Now, this was given to me by a viewer about a year ago. Actually, no, I think I bought a bunch of computer parts for him. He gave me a steal of a deal on some computer parts, which I greatly appreciated. So this was one of the things included. And this thing weighs nothing. But as you can see, this is what we got. Now for the specs, Intel N100, 0.8 gigahertz to 3.4 gigahertz, Intel UHD graphics for 12th gen Intel processors, Wi-Fi 6, 12 gigs of memory, and 512 gigs of storage. It might not play some of the more demanding consoles, but it'll be enough for what he's really focusing on, which is Nintendo related. But who knows? We'll see. So I think what I want to start first is taking apart this Nintendo. So let's do this. I know it's a bit sacrilegious to kind of cannibalize this, but it's for a good cause, All right, is that all the screws? Oh yeah. Woo. As you can see, she's a bit dirty and rough, but the bones are there. But let's get everything out over here. All these screws. And this is my first time taking a Nintendo apart. Hello? There we go. Bingo. All right. And the plan is, I do want to retain the power button, reset, which I'm pretty sure this computer doesn't have a reset, so, you know, be nice to keep the LED. So we'll definitely have to do some wire probing and see which one's the power, which one's the reset, which one gives us our LED, and then kind of see how it works into this. So moving on, let's take this guy apart. Let's see what's inside here so we can get an idea of what we're working with. Hello? Come on apart. Maybe a little pry action? No. Oh wait, I think I see something. There's a little, you know. Oh yeah, there we go. All right. We're getting somewhere. Let's go ahead and take out this M.2. And what else do we do next? Let's see. We got more screws. 2 here, 4 in each corner. Oh, okay, so we had these little things, so when I pushed it in, it popped right off. So that works. Ooh, did I rip these off? And I did. All right, so we have our first casualty, which is not a big deal, but these were soldered onto this. But it's a sticker. I won't be able to use the sticker. We can figure out something better later. So Wi-Fi antennas deleted. What else are we stuck on? Looks like we're just stuck on plastic, so we're just gonna carefully, there we go. All right, a little adhesive there. And here we go. So this is our power button. 2 pins, so more than likely we're gonna have to solder. Oh boy. Yeah, me soldering. So we'll have to find out what 2 pins are for that power button, solder it onto here. That way when we push that button, powers this thing on. Yeah, that's my thought. And the Wi-Fi antennas, they were a little too short anyways, but we might be able to reuse them because it just was soldered here and here. Maybe peel this thing off. We'll see. We'll get back to the Wi-Fi stuff later. And that's pretty much what we need to get started. So let's start planning. So this is what I'm mostly thinking. I really want to keep the look of these connectors. So I'll probably unsolder that from the other board and just mount that over here so it looks like we have power and all that type of good stuff. So that'll keep it looking mostly stockish. And then what I'm thinking is right over here. I mean, it's like this almost lines up. If I'm able to cut just over here, these 2 mounting holes up here would actually mount just like so. And then we cut a little bit, a slit over here. That would be our ventilation. Now, obviously the Nintendo does have some ventilation on the top. But yeah, this should work a lot better than I thought. That could work. Now, the other thing I really want to do is maintain this, but I don't think it's going to be possible. Unless we modify it. So this is my thought. Now we could go lower. take these out, go lower, mount this a bit lower, probably have to delete on this mount, rest right up on here, slide this over like that, and if we get this thing low enough, we might be able to pull this off. Yep, I think that's the route I'm gonna go. Because then, when you open this up, you know, you could just have one of your favorite games just hanging out. I think I like that plan. All right, so we got some updates. Now, obviously, this is not an in-depth guide on how to do this. This is what works for me. You can use a lot of different type of mini PCs and all that type of stuff. Obviously, if you use a different company, the board layout is going to be a lot different and it may fit a lot different. You might have to do a lot of different mods on it. But for this one, this is what I got. It's what should work, and that's what I'm going to use. So the main thing that I'm trying to go for with this is the factory look. That, you know, to the naked eye, it's like, oh, that's a cool looking Nintendo, and then you hit the power button, whoa, we got Windows, you know, we got emulation, all that type of stuff. So that's the goal. So to achieve that, first I desoldered the power and the AV, and also took out the barrel jack right over here. I mean, you can still see it, but if you plug something in there, nothing's going to happen, just as a precaution. Now, as far as this, I went ahead and deleted a bunch over here with the Dremel tool and the snip tools. It's not perfect, but you'll never see the inside of it, so that's fine, that's good enough. And what doing this allows me to do is it allows this fan to sit perfectly lined up in this chamber, just like so. If I can mount it, and there we go. And we'll finalize all that type of stuff, but we do have room for intake. This thing does sit a little raised on that, so our fan will be able to take an intake, and we do have some for the exhaust. Now keep this in mind, this thing does not run hot, and this is mostly going to be used for Nintendo related stuff. I doubt it has the power for PlayStation, but then again, that's not his cup of tea. Now the next thing I need to do is kind of figure out how I'm going to keep this in place from dancing around. One idea that I'm already entertaining is, because this kind of wedges in pretty nice, is taking this hole right over here, drilling it through, putting a nut and a bolt, and that will actually hold this in place pretty good and it won't move. And I might add something else. I'll just have to kind of figure that out, and I'll show you as I figure it out. So that's one. Next thing we got to do is figure out the power button. Now, this does not have a reset button, and the power button for the Nintendo is clicky and it stays on. So we're gonna have to figure that out. What I've learned so far is that the red and the brown is the power switch. So we'll have to carefully, well, not carefully cut this part, but cut this and just do a quick tap solder onto this power button right over here. There's 2 pins on the bottom, and that should be what we need to get this thing going. But if you hit the power button, it stays on, and after 5 seconds, obviously it's gonna turn the computer back off. So I'm wondering if we take off this right here, and there's actually a little thing right over here that kind of, oh, that worked. Sweet. That was just pure guess. So got rid of this little clip right over here. Let me throw it somewhere so it doesn't end up where I don't need it to be. And this little piece right over here. Awesome. I'm happy how this thing is turning out. And I think I just might be able to pull this off. Now for the controllers, we're obviously not gonna use that because this thing has Bluetooth, and there's aftermarket NES Bluetooth controllers that you can sync to it. So I'm not too worried about that. I'll just leave these tucked in on the side right over here, zip tie them together or whatnot. But by doing all this, I get to achieve my goal of popping this in just like so. And let's just kind of throw that there, move that down there. Okay. Now, because this is a different board and there's no schematic or layout out for it, typically if you use an ITX board, you'll have the 2 pins and all that stuff. It's a lot easier, but this one, you kind of got to use a multimeter and figure it out. And after spending some time with the multimeter, I was able to figure out which ones I need to jump. So now this one has like 5 different pins, and I figured out what 2 I need to do to turn it on. So using the red and the brown for the Nintendo Switch and disconnecting that piece like I talked about earlier, hit the power button and a light comes on, fan spins, good to go. And if we hit the power button again, no more power. So that's done. Now on the back, I went ahead and kind of had to Dremel the whole thing, and I'll clean all this up once we're done. I'll make this a lot smoother and prettier, to say the least. But unfortunately, I was trying to do individual slits. It was too weak. The integrity just wasn't there. So it is what it is. Do the best you got with what you have. So now that I have this set up, I need to go ahead and carefully mount this way. There we go. This could kind of hang out over here. Pop this in just like so. All right, cool. And now we need to kind of get this thing secure. So what I'm thinking is right over here, this hole in this corner, we're just gonna take this drill bit. Got these screws, M3.50 by 8, or bolts in this case. And I should be able to pop one in right down through there. And that's actually gonna sit exactly where I need to go. And so it's resting on what's left of the stand, plus what's up here. So it is level, it ain't going nowhere. And the heatsink is sitting on the bottom. Okay. And I need to do one over here. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do something through there. All right, so that looks pretty good. Not going nowhere. Got a nut and a bolt right over here. Same thing right over here. So, my friends, we are golden. Let's just tighten this one up. Yep, no flex on the board. Might have to trim a little bit up here, but that's really no big deal. We'll obviously take this thing apart again and clean it up more, but for now, looking good. So I'm gonna switch to the montage, and when we come back, we'll talk about things I can do better, which is probably everything, and see how well it runs. The good news is, it worked. The bad news is, it worked for like 5 minutes. Let me tell you what happened. So as you can see, she's taken apart. This was my fault. And hear me out. My soldering skills suck. I have been practicing, and I thought I was getting better. Not good, but better to say the least. And one of my power wires came loose. I took this one off, so the red, you know, that soldered up pretty nice. But this one, the brown, came loose, touched something on the board, and created a short. Yep. The reason why is because it's got the smoke smell. Yep. And I heard a slight pop. Not exactly sure what popped on this motherboard or anything like that, but either way, yeah, it didn't work. Unfortunately, I didn't solder this, and as you can see, it's pretty bad with this blob, but I thought it held, and apparently the tension that I had on it, it just kind of made itself loose, touched something, and well, yeah, didn't work. Kind of unfortunate. On the plus side, I now have a M.2 512, so, you know, that's a good thing. So we'll just put that in the save it for later pile. But yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't work. It was a good idea. It was going real well, but I have a lot to learn about soldering. I was having trouble tinning the tip. It just wouldn't do it. I tried cleaning the tip, not 100% sure. Watched a couple of videos, but apparently there's a type of solder that does that. And maybe you guys can let me know in the comments better how to do that. But had my solder been a lot better, it would have held up and it wouldn't created a short, unfortunately. So it probably came loose and bridged two things together, and that is unfortunate. So it happens.